I do not support the Enlightenment. I do not support individual liberty or even like free speech in itself, no, I'm a hardcore reactionary. I'm like counter Enlightenment. I used to be against literacy for a long time, and everyone got mad at me because I would say, no, don't read books, and people would say, what? You're criticizing self-improvement? And I would say, don't read books. It won't make you smarter. Read the Bible. And, people got mad at me for that.
Yeah, like read this book that tells you to believe in something based on faith, right? No evidence. Reject the Enlightenment because they've used their minds. They thought about things. They've used science and stuff like that, which has brought tremendous amount of progression and technological advancement in America and definitely in other places as well. But we're going to reject that. We're going to reject all the philosophic premises and stuff like that. We're just going to continue and preach Christianity and faith and stuff like that. Reject everything that has brought prosperity.
He wants us to go pre-Dark Ages and then run face first into it, where all we have is that book. So that's it's cool. I know he's being cool and reactionary to say anti-enlightenment, but let's realize what we were getting enlightened from and why we had to get enlightened.
But he would support the Dark Ages though because of how primitive and traditionalist it was.
You see him get his word out on horseback, riding 30 miles town to town with pestilence and
disciples
and in the street I want to see him get out his message on horseback.
Yeah, you need like 2 shekels for like gloves because it's becoming winter and stuff like that. You don't even got a house with a heater in it, bro.
You have to wait 3 days for somebody to sew those gloves, bro. Chill out.
Favorite political leaders? Well, honestly, I've been talking up Stalin a lot on my show lately.
Oh, yeah?
That's sort of like a surprising one. But I've always been a fan
I'll
of...
say historical rather than political.
Historical or political, yeah. Well, Donald Trump. Donald Trump's really my biggest hero because the guy's like... I think he's the greatest man in the world today, 21st century. I like Putin a lot, obviously. I've been talking about that lately.
The only principle is a negation of principle because you got to think about how like Putin and like Stalin like run their countries. It's like, well, I want X to happen and it's going to happen and I'm going to use the government to get it to happen and stuff like that. It's ultimately like no like respect or anything like that. And I'm going to say this, and I know if Nick Fuentes like would watch and stuff like that, he would say that like, yes, this is a good thing. But like, 2,000 people were arrested like day one, like when Russia started invading Ukraine and stuff like that. Like that's again a complete violation of freedom of speech and stuff like that. And like Fuentes would be like, yeah, he doesn't care and stuff like that. But his reasons for not caring and stuff like that would just, I mean, he never states them, nor I don't think he would ever attempt to justify them.
He wants to spread his ideas so far and wide and get them so accepted that, he doesn't have to worry about when the people who are against him take over. He's saying he wants a society where there's no one against him or his system is codified to be his way.
Someone like Nick Fuentes who has more confidence than brain. If somebody would corner him and to when they're arguing with him and stuff like that, I think he would just going to appeal to like, bro, this is just common sense and stuff like that. Like I don't have to philosophically dependent, and he's going to make fun of like those who get really technical and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, I don't want to talk about like metaphysics and ethics and stuff like that. I want to really just talk about basic stuff. And if you can't understand that, then that's a you issue and stuff like that. And I think that's how he's going to just avoid and like a real rational debate and stuff like that.
I think it will redound to the same exact tactics of his alleged enemies, the left. It will redound to the same type of gaslighting, taking out of context, and just grandstanding, moral grandstanding.
On nothing.
On nothing, yeah. Just,
faith.
Kind of trying to hit you with those, the points that are meant to make your position, construe your position to be some absurd thing that he can knock down. Any video you can find of him or people that follow him or they're the typical, I always make fun of it. I used to be a libertarian, so I get it. Of course, their interpretation of, well, I'm not going to defend libertarianism here, but their interpretation of more grander of what it means to be a free society is so, like, they're going against this whole straw man that they thought they conceived of. So
what Americans want, it's pretty clear when they elected Trump.
Who is Americans? Like when he says they decided, and then because to start a point off with Americans decided Trump, was that getting shoved down the throat or was it not? And then how did that happen? And why don't we feel the same way about the next guy? What about when we chose Obama before that? How come that was a landmark signaling something about this country?
We want Trumpism, we want nationalism, we want Christianity.
I think we want division. I don't know why we should be scared to say that. I always think it's ludicrous that conservatives are afraid to say that, but we want more division. We should.
And I would have to, I wouldn't say agree, but I would have to add a little something to Nick Fuentes' sides and stuff like that. I think one of the failures of the left is saying that this whole entire idea of inclusivity and diversity is somehow a value within itself. And Nick Fuentes in this podcast made an argument against that, and I kind of agree with him in there. Like, what's really the value in diversity or multiculturalism? The left has made it where, like, you have to respect, you have to value because it's traditional, it's different, it provides a different perspective and stuff like that. And I totally hate the left when they do that and stuff like that. I think it's bullshit argument. What I do think is that a culture should be accepted based on the rational values that come with it. Something that promotes happiness, your own well-being, and so on and so forth. Not just because it's different. Like, who cares if Native Americans or, like, African cultures are sitting there banging rocks or doing some dumb stuff like that. Like, no one really cares about, like, that stuff. And give me a reason why we should care. There is no reason. It doesn't progress my life in any real way.
There is nothing to fear from these quote-unquote, irrational or less productive cultures, if you live in a rational society, because the only thing they can do to you is talk. And what he's arguing is essentially we're afraid of other people listening to these people talking, because other than physical violence, we people like us, we have the confidence to say I just want to equal terms on argument grounds.
Yep.
That doesn't even mean you have to give me a literal platform or an equal platform or share my stuff on your platform. It's not what we're saying. But as long as you can't come and bash me over the skull while I'm talking, let's talk, right? His whole thing is we don't. It's almost like, again, the people he's trying to sell this to. You guys should be scared. People around you are all stupid. So we have to make sure that these other people aren't around you, that the ideas won't seep into you and you won't do something stupid. So we have to protect you from your own stupidity.
But, like, what they provided as an alternative, I mean, just what Nick Fuentes says, like, we want nationalism, we want Christianity. No, that's not the proper alternative to what the left wants and stuff like that. Like, Christianity is anti-man, it is anti-human life, it is anti-human, happiness and stuff like that. Like, it literally says, sacrifice yourself to this thing that you don't even know it exists, and don't care about your own life. Just go ahead and kneel, and you have to have genuine humility when you kneel to God and stuff like that. Look at yourself as mud, and you have some type of abominable stench and whatever. You stink, you suck and everything in comparison to God. Like, this is anti-human religion right now.
We need to take America and literally make it great again. Like, that's what he said, and that implies, like, action. Like, we're gonna seize America and make it the way we want it to be. And
and that implies that you actually have an understanding of what America means, though. Like, because if I were going to a whole entire conversation of what America means, like real American values and stuff like that, then Nick Fuentes will start disagreeing with me, even though his slogan is America first, America first. But again, I mean, that's based on not having any real understanding of what America first means. Like, if you want to understand what America means, go to the Declaration of Independence. But he would argue, it's like, no, I really don't care about the Enlightenment and individual liberty and freedom of speech and stuff like that, but you're somebody for America first. That doesn't make any sense. And I think he would kind of retort back with something like, well, I really don't mean the the philosophic and moral principles under America. What I really mean is the American people. Well, who American people? What American people? Well, I really don't mean all the immigrants that are coming in now. I mean the people that are just currently in right now. Well, you're talking about the 22 undocumented immigrants too? It's like, no, not those. A lot of the I don't see. It becomes really undefinable at that moment when you ask us, like, who is America? Who is America?
And so the question I always ask is, who is going to conquer who? Is Trumpism going to conquer the system, or will the system conquer Trumpism?
When you have a government that does more than respect, in quote unquote, I don't want to phrase it like that, but does more outside of what it's supposed to, and it makes benefits over here, you get into this whole entire thing of tribalism and gang warfare. I mean, you can see it all over the place. I mean, you got the BLM versus, the conservatives. You got NRA versus whoever's the anti-gun organization, the NAACP and stuff like that. They're all trying to lobby. They're all trying to get them some benefits. This is gang warfare, and this is what happens when the government expands its power, provides benefits and privileges to some type of group. It's going to cause another group on the other side to go ahead and attack that group because they don't really like what's going on. Oh, look at you. You think you're so nice with these privileges and stuff like that. Let me go ahead and try to get some privileges that it's against you and stuff like that. Like, this is what happened when you allow the government to enter itself into the economic sphere. And when you don't allow that to happen, then what is going to be the warfare here? It's just only people just arguing with each other on social media and just posting things on Twitter and stuff like that when you don't have the government involved. But when you do have the government involved, you have lobbying, you have the government making all these gangs and stuff like that. And I mean, this is why Nick Fuentes is talking about, like, who's going to conquer who first? Is it going to be Trumpism overtaking the system, or is it going to be the system overtaking Trump? I mean, like, this is just a ridiculous alternative to, like, what actually is supposed to happen.